roller derby is a full contact sport. It's played on a flat track. A game is split into two 30-minute halves, and each half is divided down into shifts called jams that can last up to 2 minutes. On the track, there are 4 blockers from each team, and these skaters make up the pack. Starting behind the pack are the jammers, 1 from each team. They score the points. The jammer's job is to skate through the pack and around the track as many times as they can to earn points. Points are earned by passing the opposing team's blockers. Sounds easy, right? Don't forget about the full contact sport part. Blockers in the pack are playing simultaneous offense to get their own team's jammer through the pack and defense to prevent the opposing team's jammer from getting by and scoring points. So there's a lot going on. Roller derby is not a violent sport. The athletes don't throw punches or elbows. We do land full body hits though. We don't kick or trip each other. We do sternum and hip check our opponents to the ground. So it is aggressive, but this isn't the roller derby of the 70s. There are no predetermined outcomes between 2 teams, and nothing is rehearsed because we're not putting on a show. We do train several hours a week, though, because we play a competitive sport. We're not paid professional athletes, but we do pay monthly league dues to rent out a practice space. So we're not violent people who like to hurt other people. We are strong, assertive, incredibly hardworking men and women who share an extraordinary passion for this sport. Before roller derby, I was not a very strong, assertive person. In fact, I suffered from really low self-esteem and even lower body image. I struggled with an eating disorder. As a kid growing up in sunny South Florida, I could skate 365 days out of the year if I wanted to. After I moved to Maine, my passion, that outlet, was not as available as it once had been. In those high school years, not getting to skate every single day were actually not so bad. It just meant I lived in my skates during the summer. After I turned 18, I started to really hate my body. And even worse, I started to hate myself, the person I was on the inside. I dropped out of college. I viewed myself as a severe disappointment to those around me. I was a failure, stuck at a dead-end job in a gas station. I had no idea what I was living for. Every day just felt like something to get through. I felt so ugly inside and out. When your greatest enemy is yourself, it can be a pretty defeating feeling. I punished myself, and it became all too easy to punish myself by restricting food, often for weeks at a time. And if I did eat, I'd have to throw it up. And diet pills, I went through bottles of them. This toxic cycle of self-harm was physically taking a toll on my body. But the mental and emotional damage I was doing to myself seemed, at the time, irreversible and hopeless. I was compelled to take these unhealthy actions against myself. And yet I was so ashamed by my own behavior, and I couldn't stop. I was too embarrassed to reach out to family or anyone, so I never sought help. What the medical world knows is that there is no single cause for an eating disorder. What I did not know at the time, this time when I was so consumed with self-hatred and how I hated the way I looked, was that I was on the brink of discovering the one thing that was going to pull me out of such a horrifically overwhelming desire to treat myself this way. Skating saved my life. That hobby I had as a kid was about to be reintroduced to me in the form of a full-blown, all-consuming new addiction, roller derby. Yeah. Thanks. When I first discovered Derby, I was very dismissive, actually, of the idea of roller skates. See, I grew up inline skating. In my eyes, roller skates were for kids, and I hadn't roller skated since I was 8 years old. Still, I was intrigued by this aggressive, predominantly female, full contact sport. And for the first time in a while, I thought, I would be great at this. Now, I had no reason to believe that I could actually do this, but I knew I could skate. It was the one thing I always could do. And that small spark of confidence lit up my soul. I had to play roller derby, and suddenly, I had a goal. I had an aspiration. I was choosing to work towards something that was meaningful for me, and I was doing it for myself. My first night at tryouts was the first time in my life I had been in a room full of women who seemed so strong, confident, self-assured, and welcoming, and terrifying, and badass. Even though I didn't consider myself to encompass any of those traits, I still knew I could skate. Out of the 25 women that tried out that night, 5 made it. I was one of them. As rewarding as it felt, I had a feeling it was only the beginning. Abandoning my eating disorder and focusing my efforts on Derby was never a tangible choice that I made. I never really sat down and thought, hey, you're getting really lightheaded at practice. Maybe eat something beforehand next time. With all my time, energy, and attention going into Derby, fueling my body was just something I did. There really was no getting around it. I wanted to succeed at this. I desired to excel. And in order to do so, it sounds stupid, but for me, it began with eating. Do I have the healthiest relationship with food today? Maybe not. I don't want to say that roller derby cured my eating disorder because that feels irresponsible, but it did teach me how to love and appreciate my body, and more importantly, myself. And that toxic cycle of restricting food, binging, purging, daily negative self-talk is no longer a part of my life anymore. And that feels, yeah. Thank you. Yeah, that feels really good. In the roller derby community, my story is not a unique one, not by a long shot. So what is it about this sport that changes women's lives? The sport itself is a brutal, uncompromising physical endeavor, and we break ourselves to play this sport. But when we grow confident in derby, that confidence can bleed over into other aspects of our lives. And it does. I wouldn't be standing here today if that weren't true. You get knocked down, but you never stay down. You learn resilience, and you always get back up. And sometimes I'll knock someone down, and that feels really good. I'm still talking about roller derby. And then there's the women involved. You guys. We may be knocking each other down on the track, but we are constantly building each other up, supporting each other. Roller derby has shown me what I'm capable of surviving, but also what I'm capable of accomplishing. I'm strong because my team is strong, and I'm a part of something much bigger than myself. Derby has taught me how to devalue beauty and appreciate all the wonderful and amazing characteristics that my teammates and those around me encompass, and that I do as well. Get knocked down 7 times, get up 8. Thank you. Thanks. Thank you. Thank you.